There are many reasons why I love walking in Great Britain. The amazing views that you see, the variety of countryside, the challenges that some walks bring to you when you're out and about, the variety of weather, fantastic skylines. It goes on forever, doesn't it? But also, one of the things that I really enjoy is the richness of history that there is in our country, and the fact that there are things around that remain going back thousands of years. I love seeing the work of like the Victorians, how they seem to be determined to conquer anything of nature, and their roads, their bridges, the reservoirs they built, the canals, railways. I suppose maybe you could look at them and say, oh, that some of it looks like a blot on the countryside, but to me, a lot of it enhances the countryside, enhances what we are. And you see a lot of these things, and it carries its own feeling, it carries its own vibe, its own atmosphere, and I love, for a little while, being taken back into that time, back into the feeling, and trying to imagine their lives, trying to imagine what it was like in those days and what they went through and what inspired different people to construct and build these different things. At this moment in time, I'm sitting in what I've always known as Druids Seat. It's in the village of Birchover in the Peak District, and it's an outcrop of rocks, and carved in it is this seat. I'll show you a bit better in a minute. Now, I think people probably question whether it was carved out by Druids or whether it really was that far back. Maybe it was somebody in the Victorian times wanting to participate in the history of the past. But the pub just down at the bottom of the hill is called the Druids Inn, and I think it is pretty much believed that this was a spot that was used by Druids. When you come here and when you wander around, it certainly has a kind of air of prehistory about it, and there's an atmosphere of the past which is quite enthralling, enthralling, captures you, takes you in, whatever it is, something like that. And I love in this country that there are little things like this. I mean, I guess not many people know about this place, but there are places all over where there's a little bit of history. And when you're out walking, out and about, you know, you discover these little things, and they might only be small things. It might just be a carving in a wall or remains of a building or a bit of structure, and you look at it and you think, well, what's that all about, what's that there? And I love that, and I love that exploration. So while I'm here for a little while, I'm going to just take a wander around these rocks and show you some of the caves and that, and you can easily believe that maybe Druids or somebody, this was a spot of theirs once, because it sticks out from the countryside around about. And then I'm going to wander over to Nine Ladies, which is a stone circle, and again, how old that is slightly questionable, but it has still got a spot that has an aura and draws a lot of people. This is the Druid's chair. Whether Druids actually did sit there or not, who knows? But it's nice, that's not a good word, is it? It's mysterious to think of some wise old men sitting there debating life from this rocky outcrop, looking out over this view here, which I guess in their day would have all been forest. Definitely wouldn't have been Birchover down there. does say it's slippery. Looking at this part here, it looks pretty obvious to me that it's been chiselled out. And it looks like some sort of proper home there. I'll have a look in a minute, but anyway, I'm going to have a look in this one here, because this is this bit through here seems a bit more natural, although when you get in the middle, again it's got pillars in it holding it up. Well, I hope it's not holding it up. I hope there's a bit more than that. Don't you think it's strange that somebody would build a stone pillar on top of a rock there? It must have had something on top of it at one time, but who knows what it is. But I suppose, like a great vantage point like this, when you can see views like that, maybe it just simply appealed to something a bit more primitive, or something rooted in our past in somebody, and they wanted to build a monument towards it. When you come up here, there's a sign saying be careful of the precipices. So you could fall, could do some but they're a great place to stand and look at the view. I don't think I've chosen the quickest way to walk from the rocks to Nine Ladies, but it looks a bit more attractive than walking along the path, along the road. This must be a man-made wall, but look at the size of them boulders. There's a raven around here somewhere chirping away at me. They're huge. Look at that. That corner. Massive. So the question is, what was that all about? Because this is where I am. There's like some sort of building over here. I'll show you that. So this looks like it might be the doorway, or was the doorway. If I can get in there. And come into here. There's a wall, and then there's that wall there. There's some ironwork down here somewhere. So, was it some old quarry workings? Ha! Well, there you go. Proved my point already. When you're out and wandering about, you never know what you're going to find. I'm now walking across Stanton Moor towards Nine Ladies. Walking across Stanton Moor this time of year, it's a very barren looking place. lots of leafless silver birches and dead heather. But I'd imagine come springtime this would be really beautiful. You'd have all the purple of heather and the green, fresh green of silver birch trees. The spring green of silver birch trees is some of the most vivid and sharpest greens there are. So it'd be quite a colourful place, I think. I've got an old scout book of my dad's. I think it's called something like Fieldcraft for Boys. And at the beginning it refers a lot to a book called Kim, which I don't know if you've read it. It's a novel written by Rudyard Kipling set in India. But in that novel, Kim is basically taught to be a spy, but he's taught to pay attention to detail. And he goes through this massive sort of training thing where he ends up with this fantastic memory, being able to remember things. Anyway, but the whole point is, it was attention to detail. Now, if you're navigating anywhere, obviously that is really important if you don't want to get lost or anything like that. Attention to detail is very necessary. Detail in the map, and detail what's around you as well. You know, the sort of the shape of the land, the topography of the land, any features, things like that. But I think also when you're out on a walk, learning to see the detail of what's around you enhances the walk so much more and can give so much more to your walk. And go places and there are fantastic views, so you get the macro experience. I don't know if I can say that or not, but anyway, I've said it. The macro experience, where you see the vast views and you look out and you see the wonder and the awe of what's around you. But then there's the micro experience as well, and I like to look around. See all them trees in the glade even. There's something special about that. Okay, to me it's special. But the micro as well, as I was saying. And there'll be little things that you see of nature, or, I don't know, little quirks and things. Even sometimes looking at the rocks or the stones, and you can so easily walk over and miss the patterns that are in the stones or the patterns that are in the rocks, and or the way that sunlight shines through tree leaves, or I don't know, bits of nature, animals. Nearly trod on a slow worm once because I wasn't paying enough attention. But things like that. And getting the fullness out of your walk, part of it for me is learning to look for that detail. I got a friend and he's brilliant at it, and he'll go, "Oh, you seen that? See that?" And you look and it's gone. It was a fish in a river, or it was a jay that just flew by, something like that. So I'm really trying to learn to look for the detail of what's around me in my walks, as well as taking in the whole landscape that's around me. This is coming to the 9-Ladies Stone Circle. And here they are. And there they are. It's not quite Stonehenge. But even so, and that big stone over there by that couple, that's the King's Stone. Nobody quite knows why. No, quite knows what function that played. That's right, that's what I say. I think that's Kingstone. Or maybe that's the Kingstone. One of them is for sure. Anyway, there's a legend that there were 9 women dancing up here on the Sabbath, and they got turned into stone for dancing on the Sabbath, and the Kingstone was the fiddler. So there you go, assuming that is the Kingstone. I know that on the winter and summer solstice, pagans still come up here to the Nine Ladies and celebrate the, I don't know, whatever pagans celebrate, solstice, winter and summer solstice. I haven't got a clue. But I know you get quite a crowd come up here, and they camp up here, and I suppose some of them have their rituals that they perform. So for thousands of years this has been a place of ritual. And some people are sensitive to that, some people can feel it. To me, it doesn't work at all. But I do find it fascinating. I find the whole stone circle thing fascinating. Because the ancients must have gone to a lot of trouble to, build these things and put them up. And nobody knows quite the fullness of their reason. There's a mystery to it all. And I suppose in a way that makes it even more attractive, doesn't it? It makes it more drawing and alluring. That mystery. And looking around it and feeling the mystery of it. Anyway, before we disappear into a mysterious hole, that's it. That is 9 Ladies. I think this is the cork stone. I don't know if it has any significance in any way, if it's related to the 9 Ladies or whether it's just a natural thing. Maybe it's a natural thing and it took on some sort of spiritual significance. I don't know. Anyway, it's a bit of a shame it's got those handholds up the side of it to climb it, but since they're there, I think I'm going to do it. Well, there we are. Thanks for joining me on my little ramble, more ways than one.